It's here. I'm hopefully going to be able to get this up sometime on July 10th. It's actually July 9th while I'm recording this, but July 10th, 2023, which means it is the release date for my second book, The Nephilim Strain. I just wanted to commemorate this occasion. I don't actually know what all I'm going to say here. I am completely unplanned, unscripted. I just thought about kind of the need to do this video literally like 10 minutes ago. This is the second book in the Agents of Night Watch and an immediate follow-up to the Hellfire Bratz, which was released last November. I'm hopefully going to continue doing this book every 6 to 7 month pacing. That's just kind of how long it takes me to throw together and edit these books. Some of them might end up taking longer, some of them might not take as long. The Nephilim Strain actually took me a little longer than the Hellfire Bratz did. For those of you who don't know, which is probably most of you, I actually started working on this series in 2018 is when I first came up with the idea for it. I didn't really start working in earnest until 2020. That was when I did the first draft for the Hellfire Bratz. But by then I had already planned out the first 5 books. And part of that initial 2 years of brainstorming I did, where I just kind of threw together some ideas, as I have been doing my entire life, really, and then trying to, figure out which ideas would go best together and which ones should be left to other stories. This book, the story in this book, was actually kind of the culmination of a lot of that early groundwork I did before I started writing. The Hellfire Bratz, in comparison, was kind of thrown together. I had this world that was diverse in every sense of the word, and I laid out that groundwork so that it could be a well I could constantly tap. The idea being that I could have any kind of story take place in this universe. One of these days I'll do a period piece western set in the same universe, or a medieval fantasy set in this universe, like an actual medieval fantasy. Using the same terminology and lingo and a lot of the same organization, maybe even some of the same character last names. But the Hellfire Bratz was kind of the genesis of a lot of that. But the actual plot of the Hellfire Bratz, kind of to tip my hand a little bit and be a little self-critical here, kind of just exists to give the character something to do. I had an idea for this world, I conceived it, I worked out all the kinks in my head, I had a small cast of characters that I wanted to tell stories about, who could kind of drive these different kinds of plots, and then I threw them all in one setting, one location, and was like, okay, now what? And one of the first ideas I ever had for that now what was actually the plot of this book. But once I started working on the guy in the cover there, Corlarva, I knew I needed something else first. I needed something smaller. I needed something that wasn't quite so harrowing. And that's where the kind of threefold plot of the Hellfire Bratz comes in. There are kind of 3 villains in the Hellfire Bratz. You have Sebastian Crane, who is on the cover and is the titular Hellfire Brat. He is the leader of the Hellfire Bratz, and he's a demon arsonist, and he has his own little trio of goons that work for him. But he's kind of a cog in a much larger machine. He's an antagonist to Dodger more than the main character Oliver or the big hero Sir Nightwatch. Then you have the the assassin, whose name I will not spoil because I know a lot of you probably haven't read this yet. A lot of people haven't read this yet. It's done about as I expected in sales. First time author, self-published, not a whole lot of marketing. I do have a platform here on YouTube, but I get like a couple hundred views per video on a good day. No, that's not gonna cut it on as far as cutting a check goes. Which is why I will never have my livelihood rely on my creativity. I've said this about my YouTube channel, and I'm going to say it about my publishing career as well. I will always try to have some other job that gives me a consistent paycheck. And then use that money to fund these. Like, I'm doing this because I find it fun and engaging. And I like talking about it. I like creating. But yeah, so the second villain, getting back to the villains, the second villain was the assassin, who was a foil for Eliza, the deuteragonist, for this entire series. I just love the word deuteragonist. It's one of my favorite words in the English language. I don't use it enough, but that's why I created Eliza. Eliza is supposed to be like the superhero cop in this superhero fantasy, and Nightwatch is like the superhero vigilantes. Because that's just kind of what I found interesting, and I have a real big problem with the secret world trope that you see in like Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, Dresden Files, all these other urban fantasies try to like have the magic be important, but not so important that people can actually realize that it exists. Gotta bend over backwards to explain why no one notices the Luke Guru tearing ass through the prison to kill people. Like, oh, it must have just been a storm. That actually happened in the second Dresden File book. I was so, like, upset when I saw that. Like, no, just, at least Percy Jackson had the Mist, which was the plot hole filler for that whole series. There's nothing like that in the Agents of Nightwatch. Magic is real, people are aware of it, only a small percentage of the population can use it. Those people tend to find themselves in positions of power and responsibility. Some of them abuse that power and responsibility, and that is what Nightwatch and also, to a different extent, Eliza are going to be fighting against for the entire series. And they have to worry about their PR, their self-image. Doesn't come up much in the Hellfire Bratz. Doesn't really come up much in the Nephilim Strain either. That's going to be kind of a book 3 thing and onward. Because I'm slowly unraveling the world with these first couple books. But then I had the character Sir Nightwatch, and I needed someone for him to fight at the end too, and that's where Damien Crow comes in. Damien Crow is supposed to be the puppet master. He's a really bad puppet master, but I make jokes about it, which makes it okay. It really doesn't, but I'm not that great of a writer. And I don't have any delusions of grandeur. I'm doing this for fun. I'm not looking to be the next J.R.R. Tolkien or even the next Brandon Sanderson. I just want to be the one and only E.M. Allen. Even though I'm not, there's actually another E.M. Allen out there that I've become aware of, but they've only published like one book that I've never heard of. I kind of want to read it just for shits and giggles. But if you look on Goodreads, there is another E.M. Allen. Which is funny, because that's literally my name. It's probably literally his name, too. But I got the platform, so I take priority. But, just rambling at this point. I'm having fun. This is all for fun. The Nephilim Strain takes place 1 month after the Hellfire Bratz. And I think it's a flaw by design in the Hellfire Bratz that it takes place over the course of several months, yet is so short. It's something like 60,000 words. It clocks in at just over 200 pages, 203. Yeah, 203 pages in this book. The Nephilim Strain takes place over the course of like 2 weeks, and it is 240 pages. A lot more happens here. It's a lot more intense. There's a lot less room for the characters to breathe, which makes those moments of breath all the more important. It's not like I'm gonna just try to find one here in the Hellfire Bratz. Chapter. Yeah, chapter 9. Few thoughts on current happenings. Is literally just, and then time passed, and this is what all the characters were doing when they weren't at school. Like, it's literally like just a chapter being like, yes, time has passed. A lot of time has passed. The book started in August and it ends in December. But this book, it takes place over the course of like 2 weeks in January of 2019, less than a month after the end of the Hellfire Bratz. And the villain, Korlarva, is a vampire, and I'm doing something different with vampires, at least something that I've never seen before. Now, just because I've never seen it before doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Like, I said this, I think I said this on my video when I was unboxing the Hellfire Bratz, that, like, I had knew about Dresden Files, but I had never read any of the books. I've read the first, like, 6 now, in the past 6 months. I was doing good, doing about one a month there for a while, but I kind of slacked on it in the past 2 months. And there's a lot of similarities, yes, between the Agents of Nightwatch and Dresden Files, but it's all just kind of accidental. It has to do with the fact that I'm from St. Louis. The guy who writes Dresden Files, I think his name is Jim Butcher. He's from, I think he's from Chicago. I know Dresden Files takes place in Chicago, which means there's going to be a lot of similarities just in the way that, you know, we view society because we're from 2 very similar cities out in the Midwest. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's from Chicago, but he has a pretty accurate representation of what Chicago is like, so I'll give it to him. But yeah, just because I've never seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. There's thousands of books published every day. No one can read them all. And that's why I don't think it's important for writers to try to, like, be different. They just have to try to do what they think is cool and fun and interesting. You know, if they're writing a horror book, they need to write about what scares them. If they're writing a comedy, they need to make the jokes that they find funny. Korlarva is a drug-dealing vampire, is where I'm trying to go with this. Or a drug manufacturing vampire. He's got a different person on his staff that does the actual dealing, and they're gonna rub some people the wrong way. I feel like I'm gonna piss off people on both sides of the aisle just by acknowledging that people like this exist, because they do. It doesn't matter what your race, gender, sexuality are. If you're a dickhead, you're a dickhead. That's the point of, you know, that's the point I'm trying to make with my writing. Something that's in one piece. Big inspiration for me. But, I think I'm going to just go ahead and wrap this up. I've already been rambling for 15 minutes, which is a little longer than I actually wanted to. So, you can pick up both of these books on my Book Baby page. Yes, they are also available on Amazon, and that might be the best place to get it. For accessibility reasons, it might be the best place to get it if you want a digital copy, because Kindles are popular, and that's just a big part of the market share. But if you want to get physical copies and you want to support me, I urge you to click on that Book Baby link down in the description below. It'll take you to my Book Baby page, which will link you to the store pages for both of these books. It's the same price as on Amazon. You'll get the books faster, and I get more of the royalties. Because if you go through Amazon, then Amazon takes their cut of the profits as well. Whereas if you get it on BookBaby, it's just me and the printers getting money. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and let me know if you've read the Hellfire Bratz and what you think, or any theories on what the Nephilim Strain. Why is it called the Nephilim Strain? You have to read to find out, because that's a spoiler question. Hellfire Bratz is clear, like it's about a gang called the Hellfire Bratz. The Nephilim Strain, a little bit more of a double meaning there that you'll have to read the book to find out. I'm Mediocrity4. I am E.M. Allen. Thank you for watching.